extradition expert. Ted Simon, what do you see here in terms of extradition to Zimbabwe?
Well, I think we have to understand the basics. And an extradition treaty, and this one is a bilateral treaty between two countries, is really an agreement that establishes the procedures and the rules and the necessary documents that one country, the requesting country, which if this gentleman is charged, it would come from Zimbabwe to the requested country or the United States. So as far as I know, this particular Mr. Palmer has not as yet been charged. So if he is charged with a crime, then it will be necessary to send those necessary documents over to the U.S., and I can explain what those documents are. But the key one will be they're going to have to provide facts and circumstances that are reasonably trustworthy, that would warrant a prudent person into believing that a crime was committed and he committed it. It's not enough to simply say this is an unpopular event. True, it's an unpopular event, but they're going to have to prove that he committed a crime with the requisite intent. He's already admitted that he has done it. The question is whether he did it with the requisite bad intent.
And whose decision is it to determine his extradition fate?
Well, first the government of Zimbabwe would have to issue an arrest warrant. That would be sent over to the United States, and then it would be evaluated. They would have to provide the facts of the case, the procedural history.
But who makes the decision on it when they have that?
Well, first the Justice Department would evaluate it. If they thought it was adequate, they would send it to the local U.S. attorney, who would then issue an arrest warrant, and then a federal court judge who would make the ultimate decision. But while I've identified one aspect of extradition, it's a fairly complicated procedure, and there are many other possible defenses. So it's understandable that this event is reprehensible. It's morally outrageous for most people, whether or not it was done legally or illegally. The real question here is not how horrendous this type of crime is, but whether or not this individual committed it with the requisite intent.
Now, there's also the possibility that some are raising tonight that he could be prosecuted in the United States for violation of what's called the Travel Act, and that would be in the event that evidence is developed indicating he went there with the intent of committing crime in Zimbabwe, including possibly bribery in order to get at this line.
Well, obviously, we don't have the facts. Theoretically, it's possible to be charged with extraterritorial crimes, that is, things that happen in a foreign country, but you're charged in the United States. It does happen. However, I don't think that's his primary problem at this point. The real primary issue is whether or not he'll ultimately be charged in Zimbabwe. What is the crime he's charged with? What are the elements? Even in Zimbabwe, all the elements must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. The question is whether or not they can provide those reasonably trustworthy facts that would justify his committal for trial in the United States if the events happened here. Is it more likely than not that he committed the elements of the offense with the requisite bad intent?
Ted Simon, thank you very much for your guidance on this tonight. Appreciate it. Chris Hayes is up next.